Hello there. I'm going to talk again about Gurdjieff's numerology of the esoteric meaning of numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm finding it very interesting and many things are coming together for me. On the images I've represented the number 7 by the 7 stars, the 7 sisters of the Pleiades, and number 8 by the Bagua, which comes from esoteric Chinese thought, and the number 9 by the 9 dragons, the symbol of the emperor in China. I had thought to begin with the Swastika, which I place at 4.5. Very, very important location. It's sometimes difficult to make the movement from one number to the next, from one practice to the next. And there's often a key halfway between, and the swastika is it. I wonder sometimes, and I suppose this is a little personal to me, whether the appearance of the swastika in Germany at the time just before the Second World War, if that meant the rising up of higher energies. If we go back to Gurdjieff, his idea was that 3 means that there is an arcing of energy between the active and passive. The 2 are meeting. There's friction, there is transfer, there is romance. Something is happening. Something is being bridged. 2 things appear in creation, but there is friction and connection. There is some kind of transmission. And this is a long way from being a whole man, but at least something is happening. I used to think about the old westerns, where at the end the hero would get the girl and the good would defeat the evil. There would be evil, there would be good, and there would be a defeat. There would be a man and a woman. There would be a meeting. And both sides were visible on the screen at the same time. And they rub up against each other. There's a conflict, there's a resolution. There's the 3-act play. And that's how the Western culture would hold in its mind the meeting of 2 opposite forces as part of the culture. The same thing happened in James Bond movies. At the end he gets the girl, but first the good has to defeat evil. What for? For the long hair of the woman. What else? And in the culture, that's how it was remembered. And so it was for the early part of my life. But something very strange has happened to our culture, where it doesn't exist anymore. It's vanished without a trace. People don't want anything. If we go back to the number 2, there are 2 versions of this. When one is alone, nothing can happen. I suppose he comes up from a previous octave. And 1 is like the finger drawing a line in a pond. That's 1. But when two are there, there is the possibility of contrast, of friction. Now I've got a picture here of starting a fire with a bow. Friction and a spark. Something starts to glow as they rub together. And this image is quite interesting because you can see that the bow is quite a complicated contraption. The man there is he's harnessing different forces together to create friction, to increase friction. That can have a certain meaning for your work. But there is a different kind of two, where yes, there are two manifest, but they slide past each other. They are not creating friction. And in terms of the mechanical man, a mechanical man has things inside of him, but they are not in contact with each other. There is certainly no center, and no integrity, and no self-knowledge. He has no internal friction. He has no conflict. He doesn't notice things. That is the state of many people in the society who are very mechanical. They have many elements inside of them, but there is no friction. They're like two rivers that meet, but somehow they don't connect. They meet and they pass each other, but there is no friction. That is another possibility for two. So the two that doesn't go anywhere is either the rivers that slide past each other with no friction, or simply the mechanical man where one is active, then the other is active, then the first is active, the second is active, but there's no noticing. There's nobody to notice. And there is the third one I can think of, which is quite interesting, and that is equality. By which I mean the current trend to think everything is equal. This is a deeply impure two, with many hidden insincerities within it. It is like we are awake in the society, there are many people here, and we gaze at each other, and we notice that this one is rich, and this one is poor, and this one has a female body, and this one has a male body, and this one is black, and this one is white, and we gaze at each other, and we are satisfied. There is no real meaning in it, because nobody has an aim. Nobody wants anything. That is the equality of the modern world. Everybody gazes at each other, but nobody wants anything. They neither really want to fight or to engage. It's a very strange state that we live in. And the reason for it is that the energy of people is being utterly destroyed by the internet, by social media, by the drowning out of intelligence by fools, by noise. All this surrounds us today, and it drains everybody's energy, and they have nothing left. I would say that the internet just empties people in the most efficient way possible until they have not slightest cent left to expend on anything meaningful. But there you are, going right back to two. But of course the way Gurdjieff means it for the man who is evolving is friction, creates a spark, starts a fire. 3. It's difficult to say which step on the evolution of a man is the most difficult, but perhaps 3 is the most difficult, because it's the first moment when something happens, and it can, and often does, involve trauma, terrible pain. As it does for so many seekers. Now the next one is interesting, 4. 4 is when you can apply your ability to do things. You start getting the hang of it in all the corners of your life and start to replace what was mechanical with what is real, what is of you, with what extends from your center, from your will. And then there is a lot of work to do. So you can see it goes stage by stage. First you have to learn to do things, and then to do them regularly, to make changes, to work with an aim, in a line. And once you get the hang of that, then you start to see how much of your life is as yet untouched, meaning it is mechanical. So there's a lot of work there, and a great work, because you start to feel like you're in charge of yourself. 4, the 4 corners of your life, and they master this plane. And once they are filled with your essence, something very unusual happens. They start to weigh, and as they weigh, they start to turn about a center, because as you fill them, there is no more space on this plane, and other space has to be found, and that space is in the center. And having a center, they start to turn. And as they turn, they move into a new plane, into a new dimension, and they move vertically. Then things really start to change. Now you are not just horizontal man, but you are vertical man, meaning that you have opened the gate to going up and going in. A whole new dimension has opened for you. I suppose it's the same when 2 becomes 3. It's not a small thing, it's not a number, it's a shift in dimensions, in your dimensionality. When you stir water, it creates this well, this extra dimension. It's a property of nature. I was thinking this week about sea shanties, those folk songs that sailors would sing as they were pulling in the net or unfurling sails. They would sing in that